Okay, so we are up to Mishlei Yud Yudches 10:18. Mechase Sina Sifse Shaker Umotzi Diba Huksil. Anyone want to take a stab?
One who covers hatred, lips,
Yes.
falsehood.
Okay, good. So Isaac correctly notes that there is there's clearly like some sort of word that is supposed to go there. Okay, so we'll leave it blank for a second. Okay.
And one who brings forth. I feel like there's more definitions that Motzi could
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
I don't know what Diba is.
Okay. Diba.
He is a fool.
He is a fool. Okay, good. Anyone know what Diba is?
Slander.
Type of hara? Is it a type
Okay.
of lashon hara?
Yeah. Okay. So I think Ayala's definition is closer, or is better to go with. Okay. So Ariel said slander. So let's look at just the translations here because this is actually a subject of contention here. So you've got here, Mitzvah Tzion says, Inyan laaz v'hotza shemra. So this is an idea of like you know, laws is like saying bad stuff about people, and hotza shemra is slander, is like making up false bad things. Shirabim dovavim umasabrim bo, that a lot of people will like murmur about and talk about. Kamo. Now the example he gives is interesting. Okay, so he only quotes the last three lines, last four words, but I'll quote the whole thing. Ele toldos Yaakov. So these are the offspring or the generations of Yaakov. Yosef ben Shva Esrei Shana Haya Ro as Achav Batzon. So this is when we see Yosef make his first appearance, or his first appearance as like a youth. Yosef was 17 years old and he shepherded with his brothers. V'hu Na'ar es b'nei Vilha ves b'nei Zilpa neshe aviv. Okay, unclear what that means. He was a youth with the children of Bilhah and the children of Zilpah, the wives of his father. Now here's the phrase: Vayave Yosef es dibasam ra'a elvihem. And Yosef brought their bad diba to their father. So in that context, what does it seem like diba mean? What does it seem like diba means?
Traits.
Okay, traits. Yeah, but diba. Okay, that's good. Okay, I hear what you mean by traits. Okay, I mean it's definitely a type of speech. Everyone's going to read it's a type of speech. So what type of speech did he bring to his father?
Just like negative speech about them.
Yeah. So it was negative speech. Okay. So I'm gonna, and that's like what Ayala said is lashon hara. I want to say negative speech. He does say hotza shemra, but the difference between hotza shemra and lashon hara is hotza shemra is lies, and diba is bad speech. And it sounds like from the plain shot, like what's. I mean, I don't know. I have not looked into this thing with Yosef, but like what type of stuff was he saying to his father about his brothers?
Wasn't one of them like they were like eating like live animals or something?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Or that's just like
Rashi brings down that they were doing like averos, so he was talking
Right.
about like reporting on them, basically like telling on them, tattling on them to their father. So I don't think slander. I think if you translate this as slander, like you could translate it as slander, but Mitzus Sion, from the example he brings, does not seem like he's translating it as slander. It sounds like negative speech, negative report. Okay,
bad news.
yeah,
right?
bad things. Yeah, defamation. I was thinking might be a good word, like just stuff that makes them look bad. So maybe we'll stick with that for now. Okay.
So
And
how is that not slander? So then what is slander?
Slander is false speech.
Oh, that's just a lie.
Yeah, Motzi Shemra is. I mean, the classic distinction between Motzi Shemra and lashon hara is lashon hara is true but negative, and then Motzi Shemra is false but negative. Now I know again, Hotzah Shemra, he does say that. So like, if you wanted to claim that that's what he meant, then that's fine. But yeah. Okay, now if you had to guess here, what word or words could we insert here? One who covers hatred, blank lips of falsehood, but one who brings forth defamation, he is a fool.
Has.
Okay, so has is going to be the simplest one. Are there any other candidates, or is that the best one? With. Okay, the difficulty with, I think if you had this first half in isolation, you could say one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood. Oh, actually, no, that works. That works. I'll tell you why. Good. because then according to that reading, then the pasuk is identifying two people and saying that both of them are a fool, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood and one who brings forth defamation, he is a fool, meaning that they're the same person and like they're the same category of fool. It's a little grammatically awkward because you could say it would be better to say they are fools, but if the point it's making is that both of them are the same type of fool, then that's a good way to say it.
Could also be a person who does both things.
It could be a person who does both things. Yeah, that's another thing. And again, we have our classical Mishleic ambiguity with the vav. It's either vav or and. Yeah. So it could be two different people, or it could be one person who does two behaviors. Okay, so let's just quickly look here at. Oh, you know what? I always forget to do this. Let me just save this as a separate file. Text and analysis notes. Okay, so let me just get rid of the Mitzvah Tzion because we got what we needed. Sadigon says, excuse me, Sadigon says, Mechase Hasina hu bal sifse sheker. So one who covers hatred possesses, I guess has is the easier way to say it, has false lips. Okay, so he takes a stance on that. Targum ksuvim machmin be'il devava sifavasa de shikra umapik tava usikla. Okay, I actually don't know what that means there, so we're gonna ignore it for now because we're lazy. I'm lazy. Art Scroll says one who conceals hatred has lying lips, but one who utters slander is a fool. So they take the slander side. Living Now says one who conceals hatred has lying lips, and one who speaks slander is a fool. Okay, that's pretty much the same as the Art Scroll. Alter says who covers up hatred has lying lips, and he who slanders is a fool. Okay, they all take that route. Okay, fine. So I think that's all contained in what we're doing. So we don't really need to worry ourselves about this. Okay, and now we get the questions. Okay, so we already listed a couple of questions here. Okay, let me list what we already have here, which is what is diba, right? Which we're saying is defamation, slander in this context. Okay, we also asked the question implicitly, is this pasuk describing two people? Okay, hold on, let's say this. Okay, is this pasuk making two statements about two types of people? That's option one. Okay, that would be saying one who covers hatred has lips of falsehood. That's statement one. And one who brings forth defamation, he is a fool. That's statement two. Okay. Another possibility is making one statement about two types of people, namely that one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood and one who brings forth defamation, both of them are a fool. Or is it describing one person who engages in two behaviors? Okay, let's say that one more time, make sure we're on the same page. So either it's saying, maybe it'll help if I type this out. Okay, hold on. Let's just make this smaller so we can fit it on one line. Make it all nice here. Okay, so A is one who covers hatred, has lips of falsehood, and one who brings forth defamation is a fool. Second one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood, and one who brings forth defamation.
They're both.
Are fools. Yeah, and well, I know that's not literally what it says, but that's what it would be meaning. And then the third one is one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood and brings forth defamation, he is a fool. So those are three ways to read it, just syntactically there.
I think there might be like a sub category for B,
Okay.
which is that the second one is a fool, but it's implying something on the first.
So I think that is a subcategory of A, and the reason why is because according to A, it's subject predicate subject predicate. But if you go with the with, then I don't know how you would read it in that way. Meaning you would say one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood, and then it wouldn't be saying anything about them.
Well, that might be. I mean, I guess it has to go with how you're you're reading it. So like, yeah, just off of like standard writing, then I'd probably agree. But one could argue that like just saying the statement "one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood" already has implications and ideas
Yeah.
within that.
Yeah, you could definitely say that. Yeah, I just think it would be a little bit it just feels weird. It feels like you're missing something there, you know. And that's why I'm saying like I'm open to the idea of saying that it's only calling the second guy a fool, but I feel like that would fit into here. All right, so we can keep that in the background. I just think that these are the grammatically complete ways to read it and to have a flowing
Well,
sentence.
also just a footnote to that is all of those already do have something missing, which is the has or with. So
Right, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only difference
What's the
is
difference?
that yeah.
What's the difference between the first one and the last one?
First one is saying that it's making one statement about the guy who covers hatred, namely he has slips of falsehood, and it's making another statement about the guy who brings forth defamation, saying he's a fool. The last one is saying that in order to be a fool, you have to do both. You have to cover hatred with lips of falsehood, and you have to bring forth defamation.
So the first one is two different people?
First one is two different people, and then the last one would be one person.
So why isn't it they are fools?
Because it's trying to make the point that it's the same type of fool.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Like it'd be like if you said, he who expects everyone to be early and he who is always late, or sorry, a person who expects everyone to be early and a person who's always late, he doesn't respect people's time or something like, you know, there's like they partake of the same flaw even though they're expressing it in two different ways, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another
Okay.
question?
Yeah.
So this doesn't seem to be. This puzzle doesn't seem to fall like in the same categories as the other pasukim because it sounds like this entire pasuk is bad.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess the question is,
yeah.
what is the relationship between the two halves of the pasuk? Are considering the fact that they're both bad, right?
Right.
Meaning it's not a chacham fool versus fool or tzaddik and a rasha.
Right, and I guess if the first half happens to be good, then like, what is that good?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is true. That didn't even occur to me. I just assumed that it was bad because it sounds bad, you know. But
Right.
yeah.
I guess in like in what instance would it be okay to hide your hatred and lie about it, and also, I don't know.
Well, okay, I'll tell you
Describe.
one thing. Okay, so I'm comfortable saying that these are both bad, okay, because I think that's the implication. But I do think it's a legitimate question of, is it always bad to conceal hatred? You know, it seems like it's and I guess you could ask about the second half if we want to be thorough. Is it like okay? And
could you phrase the question as like, what are the limits of this?
Yeah. So let's say let's do that. What are the parameters of this pasuk? Okay, is it always bad to conceal hatred? And hatred, is it always bad to defame? Okay, and you know what? Even though Isaac, I liked your poetic brings forth. I think I'm going to change it to express. I like one of the English translations said that it's just smoother. One who expresses defamation. Yeah.
I was trying to do the most literal definition.
Yeah,
but I think
yeah.
expresses it better.
Yeah. No, I think you were right to translate that way at first. Okay. Other questions?
Couldn't the first part be translated as like one who covers hatred as if they pretend to not hate someone is considered with lips of falsehood because they're fake and they're a liar because they're just pretending to, let's say, like someone.
Wait, are you asking a question or are you giving an explanation?
And I'm asking if we can interpret it as one who covers hatred is one who like holds in their feelings and pretends as if like holds in their hatred.
All right, so let's ask that as a question then. So what does it mean to conceal hatred? Okay, meaning, and let's just add to that how, why. Okay, I don't know if both those are relevant. Well, how we definitely have to answer because otherwise we don't know what it's about. I don't know if the motive is relevant, but it seems to be good to ask.
Oh, also,
Yeah.
why? Just practically, it seems like it would be bad to express hatred, like concealing hatred. Like if you're hating somebody,
Yeah.
should you really not conceal it?
Okay, yeah, right. So that I think will sort within number 4. What are the parameters? Is always bad to conceal hatred? Is always bad to defame? And if not, then when should we conceal hatred and express defamation? Right.
Can you also ask, if you're learning it's slander versus lashon hara, what are the? I'm sorry. If you're learning is just giving bad news and lashon hara, what's the nafka between the pasuk?
Okay, so is it lashon hara, which is true but negative, or slander, false and negative? And what bearing does this have on how we understand the pasuk? Okay, good.
Wait, so this has to do with like the 3 translations that we have, but I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, are we supposed to specifically take a specific like interpretation because the first half doesn't have seal in it?
Yeah, so I was wondering that because according to the first half, it's strange that. Okay, yeah. So let me just put that under here. Okay, which is according to the first half. Why does it? Sorry, yeah. According to the first half, all right. We understand that this means 2a. Okay, like translation 2a. According to the first half, why does it? What is implied by the fact that only? Sorry, that doesn't make any sense.
By the omission?
Yeah, according to the second. Okay, according to the first reading, what is the implication? One more time. What is implied by the fact that only the second person is called a fool, right? Does it mean that the first person is not? Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
Is that what you're saying, Rifki?
Yeah.
Okay.
Two other questions. One is what is implied by the omission of a has or with or whatever we put in there?
Yeah. I'll put that. I think it's just. I don't think it's unusual in the language to have, but I'll
Okay.
ask the question anyway. Yeah.
I think we've had a few pasukim like that in
Yeah.
I think both in this year and also in the other one.
Yeah. What I'll say, what if anything? That way, I'm acknowledging that yeah, anything is implied by the omission of a. What kind of word would you call that?
Conjunctive. I have no idea if that's a real thing or not.
Yeah, I know I'm supposed to know this because I'm an English teacher, but
I mean, we can just not give it an official title and say connector.
yeah, the of a connecting word. We could just leave it blank in the spirit of the question. Connecting word between
Conjunction, that's what it's called.
Conjunction, yeah.
Okay, and then
hold on a second. Between covers hatred and lips of falsehood. Yeah.
okay, and related to that is it could we potentially like leave the has with in parentheses or take it out, for example, and say that hatred is a description of the lips. So it's like one who covers hatred lips. And then maybe the word of is somehow adjusted. Meaning like, are we allowed to maneuver that way?
I don't think so, because I don't even know what form that would look like. Machase Sina.
I think the sifsei is a modifier is an adjective that describes the following word.
Like you can't say like one who covers lips of hatred with falsehood, for example. Just like
One who covers lips. Oh, I see what you're saying. Sifsei sheker. It's possible you could say that. Sifsei sheker machase Sina. We've had that before too.
Okay, just want to like keep that. Not, I just want to prevent closing a door that doesn't need to be closed.
Noted.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
Yeah.
About what Zach was saying.
Yeah.
Maybe we could rate that as like a alternate option of like lips of falsehood cover. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. No, what were you gonna say, Isaac?
I like that, like lips of falsehood cover hatred.
Lips of falsehood cover hatred. Am I hesitating about that because lips is plural and you can't have it would be mechasim? I think that's the thing that's catching me up. Yeah. Yeah, I rejected
I
for now,
didn't-
but
I didn't follow that.
I do like keeping the door open for other possible readings, but yeah, I think let's work with these though. Okay, other questions, or are we good here?
I have another question.
Yeah.
It seems like I don't know if it's just to be poetic, but it seems like machase and motzi are kind of opposites.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So
Okay,
is
good.
there a lesson in the fact that machase is like hidden and motzi is uncover something? Like, is there a purpose
Okay,
to that symmetry of using those opposites there?
Okay, good. So I'm actually gonna put that under question number 3, dealing with the
Yeah, we
relationship
also
between
didn't
two
ask.
halves.
We also didn't ask what the opposite of the pasuk is.
Yeah. Okay. So let me put it this way: are the two halves opposites, as indicated by the fact that machase, cover, and motzi, express, are opposites, or is there are both of these on one half and the other half is unstated? Yeah.
Can you also ask what does it mean to have sifsei shaker?
Mm-hmm. I
And
can't believe you didn't
also
write that.
and also
we can.
what kind of sinna are we
Yes,
referring
okay,
to? I'm sorry, what's the degree of sinna or what kind of sinna?
Okay, good. What is the kind and degree of sina, hatred here, right?
Against two. Against two.
Okay, that's also, yeah, that's context. Okay, and just to elaborate on Ariel's question here is meaning, like, are we talking about like hatred of the Nazis, or are we talking about like mild annoyance, like, and everything in between, and then hatred against whom? Yeah.
And also,
Good.
why is he a fool?
Yeah. We had a question about, we have the question about the fool here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So that's a basic question. All right. What makes this person or these people a seal? What does seal mean in this context? Ooh. Okay. We got a work cut out for us.
Did we ask the classic about who we're targeting with this? Like, is this
No,
for
we
the
didn't.
people that we're describing, or is it
Who is
to
this?
prevent becoming the people that
Who's
we're
the
describing?
audience of this pasuk? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. I feel like we're at thinking time now. So sorry, this is a little small on the screen, but trying to keep everything in there at once. Okay, so let's do our thinking minute, and then we'll and as usual, we'll do our half ideas first. Okay, so let's hear half ideas and half approaches first. And I think maybe in the interest of clarity, if you know which of these translations you're working with, then maybe tell me and I'll highlight it so we can just keep our eye on like the facts.
Yeah, I had a
Uh,
half idea.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Isaiah.
So I'm going with, I think it's C. He does
Okay,
both.
so just make sure we're on the same page. So this is that if you do both of these activities, then you are a fool. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I got this from thinking about the last question first, which is who is
Okay.
this audience? Is
Yeah.
I was thinking like if it's someone who's in the position of hating, so then like they're kind of trapped. Like either they stop hating the person, which the pasuk doesn't seem to be telling you to not hate, to stop, to like cease hating someone,
Right.
or they express their hatred and then they're sealed. So
Right.
maybe if we're talking to someone who doesn't hate anyone yet, and they're like maybe somehow considering hating someone, so this is sort of telling you to not get into that realm, because someone who is either hiding their hatred or
Uh-huh.
expressing their hatred
Huh.
is a fool.
Uh-huh. Oh,
So
so that's
just don't
yeah.
get into it.
Okay, structurally I like what you're doing with it, which is like let's just stop and appreciate that category of a mishleic dead end. Let's call it that. Okay, I'm making that up right now. Okay, meaning that like there are certain yeah, it kind of reminds me of that English idiom of like it's not exactly the same, but like oh no, they say between a rock and a hard place. Is that the one, or is it out of the frying pan into the fire? Some situation like that where like if you get into a certain position, then both options will be bad. You know, and this is Isaiah is saying that this is cautioning you against like allowing hatred to develop or fester, because then you're going to find yourself in this position where either way you deal with it, whether you conceal it or express it, is going to be a foolish behavior. Okay, good. I think that's a great half idea because yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to note that I feel like the way you would read C according to his idea would just be slightly different. Like I feel like it would be one who covers hatred, has lips of falsehood, or who expresses defamation is a fool. Meaning like I think it goes on that one where it's the same person, but just pointing out that it would be slightly different.
One who covers hatred, has lips of falsehood, and one who expresses.
Or it's like, or if you express defamation, meaning like either way, you're trapped.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on that reading, but I don't think it's worth fighting about right now. Okay, the only question I have, yeah.
No, I have a different half idea. I thought.
Okay. I think the question though is, what does that look like in practice? Meaning, like, what is it like? I kind of smirked when you said like you're like considering hating someone. It's like I'm picturing like someone like with a like a menu, like, oh, I'll take the hatred, please. Like I feel like people don't typically select their hatred. That's why I kind of, when I was summarizing it, went to like fueling it or causing it to fester. Meaning it's cautioning you against. I definitely think that there are ways to nurse hatred into something that becomes like an all-consuming thing, and like there's a point at which you could deal with it, and then there's a point at which it becomes like takes on a life of its own. And so that would be a good way to say it. Meaning like, deal with it now and don't do the things that will, like, if it means whatever, dealing with your own issues, if it means like working it out with a person, just don't let it develop into full-blown hatred, because then once you do that, then you're gonna be stuck doing one of these two bad extremes. Yeah. Okay, that's a good approach.
I had I think a very similar idea, but with the part A.
Sure.
So I don't know, Isaac, is your idea also like the same, or is it a totally different idea?
My idea is a kind of different idea with.
Okay, so I'll just say that I just because it's I think pretty similar, is that I was also thinking these are sort of the two opposite responses. Maybe they're opposite extremes and you could do something in the middle, but like these are the two opposite ends of what you could do when you hate someone. Yeah. But I was thinking that having lips of falsehood is some sort of consequence, and this is why it's a half idea, is because I don't know what consequence that is, and maybe it's not as bad as being a fool or something, but it's like the two things you could do and the two outcomes.
Yeah, I also, so I like that as a structural reading of the pasuk, because one who expresses defamation is a fool. Sounds like that's Mishlei. That's what Mishlei's commentary is on it. Like person who expresses defamation, it's a fool. One who covers hatred, Mishlei's commentary is they have lying lips, and that's like a statement equivalent in its punch to the fool. And I'm right with you tomorrow in terms of like so what does that mean then? But I like that, and it's the most symmetrical reading of the pasuk. You don't have to get into these complicated B's and C's.
Wait, can
Yeah.
I say something on that? Or I
Yeah.
can wait after Isaac though.
No, go ahead. If it's on this, then keep going. Keep the chain going.
Because it's on that point, but it's like a different idea. Meaning, like my idea kind of like goes against what you were saying. So I don't know if I should just wait.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, Isaac.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
So my idea was that it starts off the same as Tamar, that both of these are opposites, like opposite reactions to hatred.
Yeah.
But more that you're already at that place. So I was thinking, what is the pasuk really trying to tell us?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's trying to say, so I'm going with B. I think I'm going with B. I guess you'll let me know because I'm not even
Okay.
sure right now. But so the first half is really saying like that that person is lying, so they aren't expressing the truth. So
Yeah.
and the second half is also saying that that person is not expressing the truth in the way of slander. So they're both kind of, I guess warping reality, but in very different ways, and they're having very different reactions to like the same circumstance.
Okay. So okay, that's a good idea. So you, just to make sure we're on the same page here, also you are translating it as slander because that way they're both involved in falsehood, right? And so that's what they call, like, the first half is like a lie by omission, and the second one is like a lie by commission,
Yeah,
right? I mean, first, right, like the first person has hatred, but they're not expressing it. So in a sense, they're like representing like we're cool, or like, or even worse, like we're on good terms, but really they're seething it with hatred inside, and that is a form of lying. And then what's interesting about it is, I mean, it is lying lips, because they are going to have to be lying if it comes up, like, like, oh, what do you think of such and such, so and so. You're going to have to lie if you actually want to keep that act up. And then the second one is dealing with the hatred by like actually actively spreading lies about the person. Okay, yeah, I like that approach. My approach to the my idea in the pasuk is going to be similar to that approach. So let's pin that and then hear what Isaac has to say, and then
Can I ask a question on that real quick?
Yeah.
Does it have to be slander? I mean, why can it also just be Moshe Shemra? It doesn't have to be a lie.
Moshe Shemra is slander.
So what's the other one again? I'm like losing.
Lashon hara.
Okay, Lashon hara is negative but true,
True.
and slander is false and negative. So
Fine,
so
Lashon
for
hara.
Rivki, it has to be false, because she's trying to say that these are two false types of speech. And if the second half we're talking about true speech, then that's a different idea.
Okay, fine. So after Isaac, then.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Isaac. Quick.
Quickly before someone else jumps in. So I think that I'm taking it as A.
Okay.
And I don't have that much to say. I just think I think that maybe the pasuk is presenting it as like a false dichotomy. Like a person feels like they have to either cover their hatred and then do lips of falsehood, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or express defamation.
Yeah.
And really it's saying that it's presenting both of these as bad, so that then you think of what the other alternatives are.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I do think that is actually very similar to what Rifki was saying. The only thing is that you're not saying it's specifically false, that it's specifically slander, right?
Yeah. I'm saying I think the person says I have to either cover it,
cover my hatred, or
express,
like let it out.
and then
Express
it's you can do something that's not covering hatred or expressing defamation.
Yeah, I think that is going to be, so I personally am inclined towards that idea as the main explanation of the pasuk. I though do go back and forth between what Rifki is saying and what Isaac is saying, and I guess we'll have to like flesh it out.
I have a variant of that, so maybe
okay,
now's
sure,
a good
go
time
ahead
to throw it in the mix. So I worked backwards because I feel like the second half is a clearly structured statement, and I
Yeah.
wanted to like work off of that. So if someone, let's say, has I was taking this as true, but I don't know if it's tied to that. Meaning if someone knows negative things about someone that makes them feel upset, and then they express that negative attitude or actions of the other person towards the other person, if they express it, then they're a fool. And so I was thinking like saying that statement here is has to be implying something about the first half. So it's kind of, I was taking the second half as an implication. So even if they express it, they're a fool, meaning the first half starts off as saying something bad. So for example, now if we look at the first half and it says one who covers hatred with lips of falsehood, kind of like blank. And that's how I was reading it. So it's sort of saying like if you cover hatred with lips of falsehood, that's bad. And even if you express it, you're still a fool, meaning like so you have to do neither of those, and just like put it in like more like concrete terms. It's like you can, I feel like we've all seen people who or instances where people would have like a grudge against someone, you know, let's say a severe grudge, so they hate someone, but they say, or you can see they're thinking like, oh, I don't want to cause ripples, I don't want to, you know, create an argument, I want everything to stay smooth and nice, so they just are lying through their teeth, you know, pretending to be nice and okay when they're totally not okay. Right. And he's saying like this is so clearly not good, you know, like don't, that's not going to be helpful in any measure. So don't lie. And in my opinion, he's not saying not to hate, he's just saying if you do hate, don't lie about it. And then he's saying on the flip side, right, so it's kind of like bumpers on a lane, like that's one bumper, and like if you go to the other side, it's like, oh, I feel like we've seen people who say like, oh, I'm not going to hide my feelings, like as soon as they're upset, like they're immediately like lambasting, you know, the other person, like, oh, I'm just open and honest, you know, but then you're also a fool. And so he's sort of saying like both of those are bad, and just because one is bad, just because you know that lying about hatred is not good, don't think that like just expressing it all and putting it all on the table is good.
Okay, so because those three ideas are all very, very similar, Isaac, Rifki, and Zach, and also to mine, let's just take this idea home again, like work it out entirely, and then if there are other approaches, we could take that. I want to show you though, when you were talking, Zach, it made me realize maybe I have a fourth reading that's even better. And first, before I show you what the reading is, I'm going to prove to you that it's a legitimate reading. Okay. From something that we did way back at the beginning of the year. The first pasuk in the parak was Ben Chacham Yasamach Av Uben Ksil Tugas Imo. Okay, so a wise son makes his father happy, and a foolish son is his mother's sorrow. Okay, and if you remember, I'll show you. I mean, I know not everyone was there, but whenever you have a pasuk, okay, so let's say you have a pasuk that the form is A is B and C is D. Okay, so there are two ways to interpret that pasuk. Okay, one way to interpret it is specifically A is B and specifically C is D. Right. So, for example, the wise son gladdens his father and only his father. The foolish son is his mother's sorrow and only his mother's sorrow. Okay, so that was one way the Mepharshim read it. But the other way to read it is A and C are B and D, which is the wise son gladdens his father and mother and is a sorrow to his father and mother. And these are
question.
Just throughout Mishlei, these are two legitimate ways to read any pasuk that has that format of subject, predicate. You can either say subject, predicate specifically on one side, subject, predicate specifically on the other side, or the mix and match. Yeah, Zach?
I'm just on two there. When you say the wise son gladdens his father and his mother, are you reading that the wise son gladdens his father and therefore also his mother, and a sorrow to his father and therefore also his mother?
No, not therefore, just to both. Yeah.
Could you say
Um,
therefore or not?
I feel like that's already another step. I don't know. I think the most you could say is that that maybe it's highlighting one more than the other, even though it's true of both. Like, for example, one of the ideas we did then was that the father is the mother. If the way that the Mefarshim explain the pasuk is like you're talking about a son who's like a fool and like a low life. So he's basically like, just you know, not working, being at home, like, getting into trouble and stuff. So the mother is more exposed to his misdeeds. So it upsets the mother and the father, but she gets the brunt of it because she's seeing it more because she's at home. And then the father is happier. Both the mother and the father are happy with the son's wisdom, but since the father's primary role is to be the teacher, then he has greater appreciation, So it could be like different in degree. Okay, so where are we going with this? So I propose a fourth way to read this. Okay, one who covers hatred, and one who express defamation, both are fools with lying lips. Meaning, one who expresses hatred has lips of falsehood and is a fool, and one who expresses defamation has false lips and is a fool.
Wait, is that different than what I was saying?
No, it's the same as what you're saying.
Good. Okay, because I feel like that just makes it clear.
It reads much smoother according to that, because both of them are lying in different ways, and both of them are foolish, which we haven't really explained what the foolishness is yet. Yeah, so that checks out for Rifki. Isaac, what about you? Is this do you like this or not?
I think I like this. Like, I'm not sure if I am necessarily.
You don't have to commit to it.
Yeah, but I think I think it's it works with what I'm saying, because I think they're like I think there's like what I'm saying is that there's an inclination to express them as opposites, but really they're the same category.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And Zach, I know you have your other way of reading it with the lips of falsehood, so I want to develop the idea and then see if it fits. Okay, so according to this, what we have explained, let's just take stock of what we have and haven't explained. So the scenario that we're dealing with is you have hatred. Okay, that's a given. All right, and you want to do something about it, or like you're confronted with a decision. Okay, so you have people who will conceal it, and I actually don't know if it matters why they want to conceal it, but it's probably going to be because they think that it's going to be better for them and somehow, meaning maybe like you said, like they don't want to like create trouble, they don't want to rock the boat, like maybe this is someone, it's going to make things socially awkward, maybe it's like their coworker or their boss, so whatever it is, they think that they should just keep it in. Okay, then you have a person who says no, like I want to express it either in the form of lies like Rifki was saying, or just like what Isaac was saying, just like telling people about what this person did to me, or like why this person is a jerk, and they don't want to keep it in, and that could also have different motives. Like maybe they want people to validate their feelings, maybe they want to take revenge and like give this person a bad name, but it's the essence of the pasuk is it's two different ways to deal with this hatred. Okay, so the question is like, why are both fools? In what sense are both of them fools?
Can I also ask a question on the structure, like the new structure?
Sure.
Is that vastly different than B, or is that almost the same as B? Just
no, I think it
adding-
is. I think it gets to the same point. Oh wait, no, hold on. No, it's it expresses the idea better because it emphasizes that both of them are lying.
Right,
According
but
to
I
Rifki,
mean, like
it's
for
that
example, if I want to say with my idea that they're one who covers hatred with lying lips and one who expresses defamation, both are fools.
Yeah,
it's sort of doing that same pattern
yeah.
were doing.
So I take it back. I think D works out better for Rifki because according to her, both of them are involved in lying. But I think for you and for Isaac, then B works out better because it's not necessary to say that they're both lying, right? Yeah. And it might come out that the idea is going to be fundamentally the same anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Even if we say that there's a slight difference here. So what we need to figure out then is what makes both of them fools. And remember, just to go over our basic thing here. So seal is sometimes used in a very generic sense, and sometimes it's used in a technical sense. Okay, and in the most generic sense, it's going to be someone who's making decisions based on the immediate, immediate, pleasure or to avoid immediate pain.
I mean, for the
Yeah.
Isaac.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna saying. I think that I was saying they're both fools because whichever choice, if you think that there's only these two choices,
Yeah.
and you're choosing between two bad choices, then you're a fool because there's really a better choice.
Yeah, so that's a different definition of fool, right? I mean, you could say that, right? You could say it's a fool because they think that. Oh, so that's interesting then. Okay, maybe there's a nuance there. If you're going to say that, then maybe the pasuk is talking. Maybe this is what you're saying all along. Pasuk is talking to someone who thinks that these are his two choices, and saying, no, that's foolish. Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The way I was thinking of it is these are two extremes that people take, and I feel like we know people like this. There are people who will just, like hold it in and not talk about it and pretend everything's nice, and then there are the people who would just like blab and like,
Yeah, I'm saying I think when it happens, it's usually that people think they only have these two choices.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, going off of your short-term thinking, I think it clicks in very well with those kinds of people who choose one of these extremes.
Yeah.
One person doesn't want to feel, so to speak, doesn't want to either feel immediately awkward in the situation or want some kind of benefit from the person that they hate. So there's like an immediate, uncomfortability or pain that they're trying to avoid by like false words and stuff. Kind of like the, oh my God, I miss you, you're amazing, how are you?
Yeah.
And really inside you're just like, oh my God, and so
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. And then like on the other hand, you have someone who's like, I don't want to bottle this up inside, it doesn't feel good, so I'm just gonna blast them, to outer space with some, targeted, words, and that'll make me feel better right now. And that's getting it off my chest, and I'm just being honest. It's bad to keep this inside. And so like those are both very short-term gains and being kind of blind to their effects.
Okay, good. So I think there's one more step. So you're saying in terms of the cause, how it's caused by foolishness in the sense of both like just acting based on the immediate impulse. Can we also say how it's as an effect?
Yeah,
as a Mishlei consequence. Yeah, go ahead, Rifki.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I was thinking is that I think that for long term, it also does have an effect on your character, because if you, let's say you do this like one time and then you genuinely think like, this is how to handle these feelings that I'm having, like that will affect your character like every single time that you are faced with that decision, because, I don't want to burst anyone's bubbles, but like, it's probably going to happen more than once in your life.
Yeah.
So get it down pat. And, I think also I was thinking of like, just to further the idea a little, I was thinking of this, I forgot where it says this, it might be a Mishnah somewhere, but there's this Jewish idea of like, you should act the same way that you act in your house alone that you do in like every other space. And I feel like that's also similar in terms of just how you speak and how you actually portray yourself. And
yeah, there's the quality. I don't know if this is the phrase you were thinking of, but there are a couple of terms Chazal use about it. One is tocho kavaro, which means that your inside is like your outside. There's another one that is the opposite of that, echad b'peh echad b'lev, that you've got you feel one thing, you say another thing. I mean, you were talking about acting the same way. That has more of an idea of tznius in terms of like.
I was thinking more of like the latter of what you said.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say one more thing though. So I think what we're saying is correct, is that like this is gonna be a long-term bad trend. It's not just like isolated with this one relationship. But I think there's also an effect, which is
Robert, can I add on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I mean I think the obvious effect for the second half of the pasuk is that if he keeps on acting that way, just these random, these outbursts, it could negatively impact him.
Yeah.
And everyone's actually gonna see him as a fool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
And what's going to happen if you keep on pretending that everything is nice with this person who you actually hate?
if what? Oh, you mean if the individual? I mean, if everyone thinks. I'm sorry. What was your question?
In the
If you
first
take
half.
the first strategy,
The first half of the pasuk.
yeah. So what's gonna be the fate of that guy who's like pretending that everything's okay, but really like he hates this person?
So I think there are two possible ways to go about this, but let's say that people do find out about it.
Yeah.
People just don't want to. People are not gonna, see him for an individual who speaks his mind, who speaks the truth.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
he's gonna just hide everything. He's gonna bottle it all up, and
Yeah.
he's just be passive aggressive instead of
Yeah.
just being open about having a crucial conversation is also important.
Right. Yeah. So the way I was thinking is along those lines, but I think it's like two things, meaning, and I'm going to make one assumption here, which I don't think is necessarily true, but I think it's true in a lot of cases, is I'm going to assume that the hatred came about as a result of something. Okay. Meaning we're not talking about I just don't like the way this person looks. Okay. Meaning they did something that upset you, or they did something that you feel slighted by, or whatever. Okay. So they did something to you and now you hate them. And so you have two approaches that you're confronted with. Either I'm going to pretend everything's okay and keep in the hatred, or I'm going to just like badmouth them, But the reason why it's foolish, so it's foolish because of what Zach said, because in terms of you're dealing with it just in terms of the immediate, but it's foolish because what's going to eventually happening is you're just going to exacerbate the situation. If you badmouth them, then this person will find out that you're badmouthing them, and that's just going to make things worse. That's going to make them hate you even more, and it's going to cause even more conflict, which you're going to have to deal with in the same way, and it's just going to escalate. And if you try to like pretend everything's okay, again, like anything in Mishlei, then you're not going to necessarily succeed in keeping up that lie. But especially because the hatred comes out in other ways, like you're saying, like it's going to come out in passive aggressive ways. You're going to be confronted with it, like, oh well, why didn't you invite so and so to your wedding? Like I thought you two get along great, or like your boss makes you like work on a project together or something like that. It's gonna come out in some way, and when it does, that's gonna be bad. And the fact that you pretended everything was okay is also going to be bad, So not only are you only attempting to deal with it in the short term, which is a foolish behavior, but because you're dealing with it in the short term, it's going to erupt in the long term and just create more of the same types of problems. So it's foolish in the cause and it's foolish in the effect. Like you're not helping the situation. You think you're solving it somehow, or you imagine that you're somehow solving it, but you're not actually solving the problem. You're just, if anything, you're making it worse,
Yeah, can I run with that
Yeah.
a minute? So I mean, just to enhance that, because I think like that was I mean it resonates spot on. So it's like when you express hate, the two effects that are gonna occur, or one is that they're gonna hate you more, and also by expressing it, you're gonna hate them more because you're constantly saying like, oh, I hate that guy, da da da, and you're just gonna build up your own hatred. So like the thing you're trying to solve is gonna be double and triple fold.
Right.
And the first half, where you cover it with lips of falsehood, he's not just saying covering it. Like I don't think he has a problem with silence, but if you have to like play nice to someone you hate, you're only going to get more and more frustrated inside. You're going to end the interaction hating them more, not hating them less. So these approaches not only don't solve it, but I think they definitely make them worse in both cases.
Good additional points. Now, because I want to take a slight detour just to round out the idea and also to answer some of our questions, because we have not talked about this so much in this Mishlei class, but according to Chazal, Shlomo Melech wrote Mishlei because people were having a hard time accessing ideas of Torah. And so Mishlei is designed to be a Torah commentary in a certain sense, okay? And the way it's designed to do that is to take, I mean, Chazal have different theories about how it does that, but one of the functions it does is it takes mitzvos, which we relate to in a abstract or in a justice-based thing, and it shows in terms of a like ben, pros and cons, cost benefit analysis, like pleasure pain sense about why this is good for you. In other words, like in this case, we're saying that why should you not do this? Why should you not conceal hatred and why should you not express defamation? Not because it's evil or wrong or goes against animal kavir, but because you're making things worse for yourself. Like that's how Mishlei approaches stuff. Okay. However, if we were to trace this back to its address in the Torah, what mitzvah of the Torah would this be a commentary on?
Would it be on V'ahavta l'recha kamocha?
Indirectly, but there's a more direct one.
Lo sanes re'echa b'levavecha?
Yeah, lo sisnas achicha b'levavecha, right? That's what you. I assume that's what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to actually just go over those halachos, and I know I've done this with some of you in various capacities in Shalhavet. Okay, but good review. Okay, because I think this is a very misunderstood mitzvah. Okay, so and I think this will answer some of our questions. So it says so this is in the Rambam in Hilchos Deos, chapter 6, halacha 5. Okay, kol hasone echad Yisrael belibo over belosase. Anyone who hates a fellow Jew in his heart transgresses a prohibition. Shnemar, as it says, lo sisnas achicha b'levavecha. It says, don't hate your fellow in your heart. Okay. Now, again, I think a lot of people who don't actually learn the halachos think that it's usher to hate another Jew. Wrong. Okay, it's not usher to hate another Jew. It's not usher to have a feeling of hate at all. Listen to my shiur on can God command emotions, but that's a separate point. Okay, but where's the halacha? Okay, fine. So you can't get punished by the court because there's no action. But here's the important part. The Torah only prohibits you to have hatred in your heart. Aval hamake es chavero, if you punch your friend, okay, v'hamacharev es chavero, or if you curse him out, afal pi she'eno rashai, even though you're not allowed to do these things, eno over mishum lo sisna, you do not transgress this prohibition of you shall not hate. So in other words, it's a prohibition to hold hatred in your heart. Okay, if you punch the guy and therefore like make it very clear that you hate him, so you're violating the prohibition of punching another Jew. If you curse him out, you're violating the prohibition of cursing out another Jew, but you're not violating this prohibition because this prohibition is only to hold in the hatred. Okay, so is that first step clear? We're going to do 2 more halachos.
Yeah, it's clear. I was just gonna ask a question on that, but I'll
Okay.
ask later.
Okay. Sorry, now it says like this. Okay. Kishayachata ish ish, when one person wrongs another. Okay, when it says sin, I don't think it means like specifically like 630 mitzvahs. When one person wrongs another, lo yistamenu v'yishtok. He should not like hold it in and be silent. Commotion emra b'rashaim, like it says by the wicked. V'lo dibir Avshalom im Amnon lemerav atov kisane Avshalom es Amnon. That says Avshalom did not speak to Amnon for bad or for good because Avshalom hated Amnon. We'll get back to that in a second. Ella mitzvah alav lahodio. It's a mitzvah upon him, upon the wronged party, to inform the wrongdoer. V'lomer and say to him, Lama asisa li kach v'kach, v'lama chatas li b'davar ploni. Why did you do this to me? Why did you sin against me in such and such a way? Shnemar, as it says in the same pasuk, Hocheach tochiach asemisacha v'lo sisa alav chet. You shall surely rebuke your fellow, and you shall not bear a sin. And if the person retracts and asks to forgive him, you need to forgive him. The forgiver should not be cruel. Says Avram prayed to God. So to clarify this, so if you have hatred towards a fellow Jew because they wronged you, then even though, so the Torah does not want you to hold it in. Okay, that's why it says don't hold hatred in your heart. Torah also doesn't want you to punch the guy. What does the Torah want you to do? To initiate a dialogue to try to facilitate understanding and forgiveness. Okay, but the key point, and this answers the question we raised, at what point do you have to do this halachically? Like, how much hatred is the level where you would violate lo sisna asachicha b'levavecha?
Immediately? Wouldn't you just do it immediately?
No, but how much hatred? Like, if a guy cuts me off in traffic, do I have to like go and like speed up and like swerve in front of him and like get out of the car and say, "Hey, buddy, why'd you do that?" You know,
like when it stays
of course,
in
in
your
New
heart.
York, you have to.
So when it stays in your heart, so how long is that then? So the answer is in the Rambam, by the way.
Where is that Rambam?
You can say. So it's if you get to the point, again, I don't mean to put it in terms of like chronological like time. It's if you get to the point where you don't want to talk to him. That's the example he brings with Absalom and Amnon, meaning if the hatred is so strong that you just refuse to speak to the person, at that moment the Torah says, no, you got to talk to the person. You know, if you haven't reached that level yet, so then maybe philosophically, maybe mishleically, you should talk to the person, but you haven't violated this yet. The Torah steps in like a mediator, like a conflict mediator, that says if you are at the point where you are not on speaking terms, the Torah obligates you to become on speaking terms. You know, yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I don't want to disagree with the Torah here. However, I will say,
Don't worry, I won't tell God. Yeah.
don't worry, it's okay. But I will say that seems to be like already at the end of the line. Like, why? Like, wouldn't it make
No,
sense?
obviously you should do this before, but you know, but
Okay.
again, the Torah, you know, it's a good idea to do this before it gets to that point. But this is where the Torah like says, okay, this is a point where, you know, it's too much, and it's going to cause too much harm in society. It's going to cause, you know,
Another
whatever. It's going to
point,
be too bad for your mitos, whatever you want to say. Yeah.
another point to answer Ariel is that
Yeah.
if you're still on speaking terms, then that means that you're giving room for there to be a natural, I get like a natural discussion to occur. Meaning, like if you're interacting, you're talking, then you know either you guys are repairing it just slowly, or there's going to come a natural point where you're
Right. At
going to
least
end up talking
potential
about
that
it.
you're getting
Yeah,
back. Yeah.
but as soon as you're not
Yeah,
talking at
I
all,
get
then
it. I get it. I was just pointing out that like the Torah is not really giving you like the best thing to do. It's just telling you at the worst case scenario, that's when you should do it. Like
Yeah,
obviously,
it's like it's a this is the warning lights have gone off now. Yeah,
yeah.
Ideally, you should do this earlier, you know. But this
I
is
guess now the question is, when would you do? Would you just do it immediately when they wronged you? Like just be like,
yeah.
I mean,
So
obviously
this is
politely, but like you know, or like
yeah.
a day later. Like how do you?
This is not pasuk, what I'm about to say, but I think that this is I think that this is what the Torah takes into account. Also, there is such a thing as in the heat of the moment, you know, and I do think that that waiting until you have a more objective perspective, um, and if you, and then say like let's say like you sleep on it for 24 hours or whatever, and then if you still are at the point where like you don't want to talk to the guy, like even though the heat of the moment has died down, then you should go, you know. And I have a story that I've told about that when I teach this in Shalhavit. But
What's the story?
the story involved it did involve like someone upsetting me a lot, and then I slept on it, and then you know, woke up, felt exactly the same way, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in this territory, you know. And Suffolk Del Risa Lachumra, I mean, that is a reality. Like if you're in doubt about whether you're violating a Del Risa, you should err on the side of you know, trying to fulfill it. Yeah, so I only wanted to bring this in, not just to answer that question, but to show how I think this Mishlei pasuk is an example of how Mishlei is trying to help you understand where the Torah is coming in. Because if you're not doing what the Torah says in this case, there is a good chance you're going to do one of these two bad mistakes. And the Torah is trying to show you, and Mishlei is trying to show you, like, not only is it a mitzvah to go and approach the person and try to talk it out like a mature adult, but if you don't do that, you're going to fall into one of these two like alternatives, and it's going to make things worse in all likelihood. You know, you're going to create more hatred, more animosity, more, you know, more problems for yourself. And so this is what I mean by a commentary to the Torah that is giving you mishleic incentive, like for your life of like pleasure and pain, you're better off not doing one of these things and following the Torah's advice.
Do you know what Rashi says about this? Because I feel like it would be very interesting to see if he would take like this route or go like in his Rashi, you know,
What Rashi says about the Mishlei pasuk, you mean?
yeah, like this pasuk specifically. Like, does he connect it to anything like in that part of Torah?
Good question. I think what we're gonna what let's do is, because we are close to the official end time, let's just see if there's anything else we need to say on this approach, and then we'll officially end shiur, and then we'll explore other approaches like in the after party, right? So any other questions on this approach? Because I think this is a good, yeah, Ariel?
Yeah. The question was on what you read before on the mitzvah.
Yeah.
It seems to be saying that when you punch a guy, it's not as bad as you hold it in, right? So wouldn't
No,
it
it's
make
not saying that at all.
Right, it's not bad at all. It's in fact
No,
just
no, it's not saying that at all.
okay. Well, what is it saying then?
It's saying that it's
I thought
usher.
it's usher, but
Usher
it's
too,
not. You're not
but it's
violating
saying
that
not
isser.
violating this prohibition. Yeah.
Right, you're not violating that. You're not violating that prohibition.
But
So
not
where-
violating this prohibition is not the same thing as saying it's not as bad. I'll give you an example, okay?
Okay.
The way to
Sorry.
worship Molech, according to the Rambam, is if you take your offspring and you pass them through the fire, right? And you
Right.
pass some of your offspring through the fire. If you take
Mhm.
your offspring and you burn all of them in the fire, you are exempt from worshiping Molech because that is not how Molech is worshipped. Now, the fact that the Rambam says you're exempt from that does not mean that it's not as bad. It just means you're not violating that one prohibition.
Okay,
No.
you're not violating that prohibition. It's still bad.
It's so bad. Yeah, exactly.
My takeaway from this is that Rabbi Shimon said that we have a chiyuv to burn children.
Yes. Defamation.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I didn't mean for it to go that
And
far.
in fact, it is worse if you punch them, because then you actually are liable for penalty. You know.
Yeah, you just pay them some monetary value, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also have
Okay.
to apologize. Yeah.
Also apologize. But the point is, you're not violating this prohibition.
You're not violating this prohibition,
Right, so
and that's
like-
why I wanted to bring to your attention the fact this is a very targeted prohibition. It's just saying this prohibition is targeting the practice of harboring hatred in your heart and holding it in and not talking it out, and it's trying to like get you to not have that habit.
Right. So now coming back to this pasuk, wouldn't it make sense from what we just learned on that mitzvah that the first half of the pasuk is not for a fool, however, the second half of the pasuk is for a fool? Specifically.
I still think both of them apply to a fool because both of them are still very short-sighted, and both of them have foolish consequences. That's why I like the readings B and D, because I do think like just the description-wise, both of them are very short-sighted. Like the guy who's like concealing hatred thinks that it'll just go away, or thinks that he wants to get some short-term advantage and is not aware of what's going to happen when you try to like hold in hatred of like it growing or like expressing itself in passive aggressive ways. Like so, I think it is foolish.
I guess I'm trying to say that that's just worse than being a fool. I mean, it's not. He's not a fool. He's just, he's actually violating this specific isser.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But Mishlei's rule is not to tell you when you're doing something usher. Like that's not really Mishlei's category in terms of that's usher or this is a mitzvah. It's telling you in a world of consequences. In a Musar framework.
Uh-huh.
One question I still want to just explore just a little bit is Rifki's interpretation, which is this is specifically slander, like false things, versus the more broad interpretation that this is any type of bad speech.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked out the idea, is one of them more plausible than the other?
Can I ask a question about how this interpretation is working?
Yeah.
Would you say that the second half of the pasuk is like an example of lashing out? Then is it just like I mean, it wouldn't be exactly the same, but could the second half of the pasuk said, "And one who gets revenge is a fool" or something like that?
It could be. I don't know if lashing out is always how I would describe this. Like I feel like a lot of times the way this expresses itself is you go to your friends and you're like, "Can you believe what so and so did to me?" Like it might be a more behind closed doors type thing, not like a lashing out at the person,
Right.
Unless
Okay,
I
so it's
don't
not just
know
like
what-
any example of acting on your hatred, but like a certain kind of example.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I also had a comment, but if you wanted to take up the other question first, I could.
Yeah.
add it
Yeah.
later.
So are we based on talking out this idea? Do we favor one over the other? Not that we have to, but
Yeah, I like the one in green.
yeah, I also like the one in green because I do think, Rifki, you're onto something in terms of like two types of lies. But I think just the way that we've talked about this, when people deal with if we're talking about like two, not mutually exclusive, but what do you call it when it is like exhaustive possibilities about like bad ways to deal with hatred? I feel like keeping it in or letting it out covers all the bases, as opposed to keeping it in or letting it out by lying. I feel like that.
Yeah, I was literally gonna say, like, I think the part that I like is like, I don't think it has to be like false facts about someone. I think it's just more about like trying to convey the idea that they both are fools.
Yeah, and I
Like,
think
that's what
the
it is. Yeah.
I think maybe a way to develop your idea is, according to the way we're taking it, the subject of the pasuk is hatred, is dealing with hatred. But if you said the subject of the pasuk is like lying, you know, is or how hatred leads to lying, just narrowing the topic, then you could have the two clean opposites the way that you had it, you know. But I think that the way we were taking it ended up being more about hatred than lying.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure when we first started where it was going to end up, because I did like both ideas.
Now, Ezra Fader wants to know if he's on target with you, your idea.
You know, when we just had this discussion, I don't know, I don't remember what Ezra Fader said, so I guess he'll have to.
Okay, I'll send it to you again.
Okay, yeah. Tamara, you had a thing?
Yeah. So I was thinking about the consequences of these two ways of dealing with hatred.
Yeah.
And I think what you said about the consequences, about how it both like could make your personal hatred worse and also doesn't deal with any of the like triggers for your hatred, like is the most primary consequence. But I think there is also like a secondary category of consequence, which would be how other people see you and treat you, which I think can really hurt you if you react in either of these ways.
Yes.
Like if you're like if people know that you're someone who might hate someone and not say anything about it, or if you're like a person who badmouths people, I think either one of those could have a lot of effects.
Yeah. It is not good to get a relationship. A reputation. It's not good for your relationships to get a reputation as any one of these things. You know, someone who doesn't when there's a problem pretends everything's okay. That's recipe for disaster in a relationship, and certainly going in and like bad mouthing people when you get into that situation. Yeah, that's a really good point. I was gonna say one other thing. Oh, another point. We had a talk last time about, in methodology, differentiating between interpretations of the pasuk and then applications that are not being taught by the pasuk, but you could apply like principles elsewhere. So this pasuk is talking about hatred. Okay, I think you could universalize this and say the same trend occurs with other emotions as well. But that's just not what the pasuk's talking about. So, for example, anger, I think keeping in anger versus like letting it out in this way, jealousy, you know, lots of other emotions go through similar dynamics. But this pasuk is talking about hatred, so you know, I want to keep it at that. Okay, let us officially end shiur for tonight, and so we're not holding anyone hostage. And then if we want to discuss other things, first on the agenda is going to be looking at Rashi. Then we'll do that. So if you're leaving us now, then thanks for joining, and see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's look at Rashi. Yeah.
How are we reading the pasuk? Like we just one more time.
I think we are reading it now. Hold on, let me go back. So I actually think that what I like. Hold on. Defamation. What's the difference between these two? One occurs with one occurs
With an and.
Oh, with an and, yeah. I think I still like D better, because I do think that both of them are engaging in lying and both of them are fools.
Yeah, I think the question was whether A is B and C is D. Is like A and C. Sorry, A and C.
The question is whether they're both lying, right?
Yeah, and I do think. Oh no, sorry, you're right. I don't like D. Yeah, you're right. I think I like B. Or whatever this was. Can't get it. Yeah. I think I like B. One who covers hatred with lips of falsehood, and one who expresses defamation both of those. Yeah, B is the preferred one for me. All right, let's look at Rashi. Rashi says, oh, it's so exciting. What is he going to say? Rashi says, drum roll. Mechasesina sifse shaker. Hachonef sfasav sheker umchasesina belibo. So the flatterer, his lips are false, and he covers hatred in his heart. So he's talking about flattery. Now, flattery. Hold on.
I think that fits our first half. It's
Yeah,
saying
it does.
like,
I was just wondering what if flattery is just another way of describing what we're saying, or if it's another case.
I feel like
Yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry, I cut you off, Zach. What were you gonna say?
I was saying I think it feels like it's the same, meaning like he's highlighting.
Yeah, because he's pretending he's talking
Yeah.
one way, he feels one way. Yeah, okay, good. And then the second one is Motzi Diba Huxil Laaz. That's Laaz. I think Laaz is used as slander, but I'm not sure. She who anashim dovavim bo al chavero, that people will talk about his friend. Okay, so Raji's not giving us specifics here.
Well, it seems like he's agreeing with D, no, because he's saying slander. So he's saying
Yeah,
it's
I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I said that, but this English here says it's a rumor. I don't really know.
Wait, for the first half of Rashi, maybe
Yeah.
I'm not like understanding the idea that we said now, but I feel like it is a little bit of a different idea, like more nuanced, because I feel like in our pasuk, it's the first person isn't necessarily flattering the person he's, in a fight
Well,
with or hating.
I think that's why I was a little in doubt, because Hanifa is, we think of flattering as like you're saying really nice things in order to get something from them, but Hanifa, the way Chazal use it, is like broader than that. It's anytime you are speaking in one way and then thinking or feeling in another way, and there's different categories of it. So I think
Exactly what we were saying then.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on the pasuk? I don't think I have it in me to start a completely new approach. So
You have a new approach?
no, I'm saying I don't think I have it in me to completely start a new approach. I don't think I have enough energy tonight. I woke up really early by accident, so yeah. But
But
if there's any other questions on this, yeah. Was that something? Nope.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear to me, but maybe just the closing point of in my mind is just looking now that we have an understanding of it, who we're talking to.
Oh, yeah.
And it sort of seems like it's pretty broad, which I like, but
Yeah. Oh, so Ken had a new theory about new audience in Mishlei. Okay. Oh, hold on. I wonder if hold on. No, never mind. He just texted me something. I don't think he knows that I give Mishlei a shiur at this time. But let me just see. No, it wasn't about this. Okay, it's about coronavirus. But his theory, which the way he put it, it's still a theory in development. But he said that there's a personality in Chazal called the Kovish es Yitzro, someone who is literally one who conquers or controls his emotions. And it's not describing someone who is free from those emotions, but it is describing someone who can exert some control over them. And Ken was saying how, like, whenever you have a pasuk that doesn't specify the audience, then he was wondering if it's directed at that. So in this case, we're talking about a person who cannot control the fact that he hates someone, but apparently he can control what he does with the hatred when he has it, and this is saying these are two bad routes. And it's interesting that the pasuk doesn't direct you to what the good route is. It doesn't say what you should do. That doesn't seem to be its agenda. Maybe it's presuming that the Torah already tells you what to do, and that Torah, this complements Torah, meaning Torah says don't hold hatred in your heart, and you should rebuke your friend. And then Mishlei is spelling out, well, what might you do instead, and why are those bad? But I do think it's talking to someone who is feeling this hatred and is tempted to do one of these two things, but is on the fence.
I like that. I like that target audience.
Yeah, it fits a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, just to go on the other point of like why it doesn't tell you what to do, I think it kind of it covers the gutters, like in a bowling lane, like the two ways to strike out. It kind of takes away, and like now you might get more or less pins, but you're gonna be relatively okay.
Yeah, I hear the analogy.
So just to just restate what Ken's idea was, he's basically saying whenever the pasuk doesn't express an audience, it's talking about conquering your emotions.
It's talking about Ken's saying that it's a personality, that it's a person who is able to control his emotions, but he still has the emotions, and that's who it's directed at. And he's floating this idea. This is not like a theory, like a set theory. He's just saying, like, I wonder if that's the audience. Yeah.
And he's able to control his emotions. Oh,
Sorry.
go ahead.
He can control his
No, go.
emotions
You
to
can go.
the point where he could
Yeah.
do either of these two behaviors.
Like controls how he responds to his emotions.
So yeah, control. Yeah, I mean he can not act on his emotions, and
you-
like himself to do one of these,
Just to clarify, are you saying that
or sorry,
that,
to not do one of these, to not do one of these. I mean, yeah,
that idea is for Mishlei as a whole, like
as a
for-
whole, yeah.
like it could be like every pasuk.
No, not every pasuk. No, every pasuk that does not have a clear audience. Like let's say here, let's say for example, like a lot of pasukim will talk about the chacham and the fool. You know, this one is just talking about the fools, but who's it talking at? Who's it aiming at? It's not talking to any of these people who are like prone to doing this or who are like automatically going to do this. You know.
And he's saying like the pasukim that only have one half.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we just mentioned this in passing. It's still in the works,
Good
but
idea. He should let us know.
yeah, I'll keep you posted. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just lost in the last part.
All right,
So-
it's not that important. It's just saying that whenever you don't know who the audience is in Mishlei, then assume it's talking to someone who is not one of Mishlei's archetypes, but it's talking about someone who is able to exercise enough control over his emotions to follow the implications of the pasuk.
Okay.
Okay, should we call it quits for tonight?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Talk to you next
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
Good
Thank
night.
you.